What's up, y'all? It's CJ, and we are here for another episode review for Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. But y'all always know before we get started, make sure that you first tap that like button on the side and then tap that subscribe button on the other side. And as always, make sure that you share this video, tell a friend about it, and hopefully they'll tell a friend about it. But now that we got all of the norms out of the way, we'll go ahead and get started. They called this episode, which was season 1, episode 2, Reaping and Sowing. Now, we'll talk about why that was called what it was called. But we see this episode opens up and we hear old Kanan. He's still like doing the narrating during these episodes. And I guess he just hits like the beginning and the end. But we see young Kanan lying in bed and he's just processing everything that has gone on. I guess he's taking everything in, everything from him shooting Buck to his mom kind of letting him know now, okay, you're in it now. You are in the game. You wanted this, now you got it. But it's his first day back since everything has gone down, and back to school, that is. And his mom is still a little uneasy about sending him to school because of, all of the talks that are going on around the city, her hearing people, his name and his friends' names in their mouths. And she's just not really comfortable because she knows that with all of this, rumbling still going on, that there is definitely still not necessarily a price from Neek, but some people are probably definitely trying to get at Kanan. So she doesn't really feel most comfortable with him going back to school, but he's ready to go. And she just kind of tells him, you need to be extra careful. You need to keep your eyes open at all times, because of what you did. It's going to always be somebody wanting to get at you. So he's outside and I guess he's waiting for the bus. And he sees this like black truck. Well, he doesn't see it. His mom sees it. It's like an SUV kind of creeping down the street, and the back window is rolled down, and a dude comes out, and she's thinking that, okay, this is another drive-by. Somebody is about to try and kill him. And so she's yelling, Kanan. And he turns around like, what? And then we see the dude throw the phone book out of the window, because y'all know back in the day, that's how they used to deliver the yellow pages. Normally somebody will just, drive by and throw it in your driveway, in your grass, throw it wherever. Half of the time, and that was how we didn't have Google back then. We didn't have Siri or whoever else could give us the number to certain places. It was straight up yellow pages. And that was just how we did life back in the day. And so Kanan, he is ready to be involved in this life. And his mom tells him, you are involved now, whether you know it or not. And she explains to him that, you are, oh, I forgot to tell y'all, she decided to take him to school. She's not, in her right mind at this moment. She feels extremely nervous about him going back. So she just feels more comfortable with taking him. So he is still, on her about, he's ready to be on a corner. He's ready to make this money and XYZ. But she lets him know, yeah, you are already involved in this. You took that step and you're in it. And she tells him that she's scared and that he needs to be scared too, because being scared keeps you aware. It just kind of keeps, you on your feet and you don't get comfortable. And so he tells her that he's scared, but I don't think that he is. But anyway, so he goes to school and they hear this commotion in the halls, and like everybody is like yelling, and obviously there's a fight going on. And who's fighting? Davina. Davina, who was Buck 20's girlfriend. She's fighting a chick named Tiffany, I think, because Tiffany tells her that, you know, you might have been with Buck, but Buck wasn't faithful to you. Buck was, matter of fact, he was with me the night before he died. And so Tiffany was kind of giving her the business in the hallway. She was like beating her ass or whatever. And so the police or whoever, pull them apart and they take them off to the office. So Rock, Marv, and Lulu, they're sitting down at like a diner type deal discussing family business. And so since they have given up their corners to Neek, now they got to figure out, how are we gonna make money? We need another avenue. You know, they're already doing what they do in the nightclub, so now they need something else. And Lulu tells her that it's a lady down at this bodega who approached him about them possibly doing business together. I guess they want to clean money. I'm assuming, if I'm wrong, y'all correct me, but I'm guessing they want to find a way to like start cleaning money, and they want to use the bodega to do so. And they come up with, you know, different options or different ideas, but right now it seems like that's one that is most feasible at the moment. So Kanan, he sees Davina and he goes into the office to talk to her, because y'all know Kanan is still sweet on Davina, and she's crying and she's upset. And they, you know, he tells her that he's sorry about what happened to Buck. Now, I don't think he probably should have said anything at all, considering you the one that killed the man, but whatever. We know that Kanan is kind of heartless from what we saw in Power, so maybe this is how it all began. So he's apologizing, you know, about what happened, or telling her he's sorry to hear what happened to him, XYZ. And we see her mom come in, and her mom is pissed. She's mad because she had to interrupt her day or her plans to come down here to see about Davina and what she got going on at this school. So she's all loud and disheveled, looking crazy. And is the mom, like, is she on something? She kind of gave me that, you know, vibe, that appearance. And also Davina said something later on in the show that just kind of made me wonder if the mom is on drugs or on some sort of substance. But anyway, you know, the principal comes out like, all right, Patricia, calm down. I think that was her name. But she was like, let's go in the office and talk about this. You know, I guess, you know, the office, the lobby really ain't the place for you to be out here yelling and acting a fool. Step into my office. You and Davina will discuss this. So she goes on into the office. And then we next see Rock and Neek. They meet up again. This time they're at a cemetery. And, you know, Rock, she had security out there, and so did Neek, because they don't trust one another, obviously. So he circled around a few times to see what was going on. And she was setting up her security, and so was he, XYZ. They don't trust each other, but they're both business people. So they meet to discuss what's happening, because Rock's still concerned. She's still uneasy because she feels like people are still out to get her son, and she wants assurance from Neek that he has indeed called his people off. But like he told her last week, you know, I called my people off. That's not the issue. The issue is, you know, this boy had family, this boy had friends, and I can't tell them what to do. So if it's people out there that want to get at him, just know it's not from me, and I can't control what they do. And he told her that last week also, but she insisted on, you know, meeting again to be assured that it's not coming from, you know, his side. So then we see Davina again. We go back to the school. She's being escorted out by the police, and we see, you know, Kanan and his crew, who was it, Jukebox, Famous, and D-Wiz. They all sitting there, and D-Wiz just says, you know, Davina got a lot of heart. I'm gonna try to get at her or something. And so they were like, her dude just died. What you talking about? And he was like, well, she's single now, ain't she? So he said he was gonna make a move on her, but he ain't gonna be making. Anyway, we'll get back to that shortly. So we then see Detective Howard, or Detective Epps. I always want to call him Omar Epps just because that's who he is. So y'all might hear me refer to him as Detective Epps every here and there, just because that's Omar Epps. But we see him and his partner, and they are trying to get a handle on this $120 murder deal, because they know this could probably be a beginning of a lot more blood being shed in these streets. So he's going around talking to people, investigating, trying to make sure that there is not, more blood shed in these streets. So Marv goes to the club, Hugo's club. I think Hugo was his name. He goes down there and he sees, Symphony at the bar, and he tries to intimidate Symphony like, hey, I heard you was talking to my sister or something. But Symphony is not fazed by Marv, and Marv kind of respects that because he thought that he might have folded, when being intimidated. So he kind of shows him that he is a man and he not afraid of him. So I guess he earned a little respect in Marv's eyes, but Symphony wasn't thinking about Marv ass. So he goes to the back to talk to the white chick. I don't know her name, and I don't know if I'm supposed to know her name. I don't even know if they said it, but he goes back there to talk to the white chick, and he tells her that he wants to have a party there tomorrow. And she's like, well, that's kind of short notice. Why don't you have it down at somewhere else? She was trying to give him other options, and he was like, no, this is the spot. This is where it needs to be. And I guess he had brought her some Coke or whatever, and she was doing lines at the table. And so she tells him, I don't know, because he asked her, is she all right? She was like, I don't know if you realize, but I'm in mourning, because we know her dog got nuked last week in the microwave. So he says, yeah, I heard about your dog, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And she then just says, your sister's a bitch and da, 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 da. I wouldn't be surprised if she did it. And so he was like, nah, Rock loves, animals. And she likes you. She said, you like the first white girl she, ever liked, and you got heart, and she appreciate that. So he was buttering her up, and she ends up caving and lets him have his party at the club, but she tells him that he needs to pay the DJ. And he was like, that's completely fine. I'll take care of all of that. So then we see Detective Epps again. He goes down to the tailor shop where Neek is to talk to him. And he wants to discuss Buck 20's death. And then he also wants to let him know that, look, we can't have a war out here. I'm trying to keep all of this, blood shed off the streets, basically. So Neek was like, well, I'm not the one you need to be talking to. That was my guy. You need to be talking to Rock if, you're going to be talking to somebody. So they go outside, and I don't know what this part was all about, but I do see that Detective Howard tells him that he knows that it can only be one king in the city, and that he's betting on Neek, that he thinks that, Neek will be the last man standing. And he just says, he doesn't know if Rock doesn't understand the game or doesn't know the rules or whatever the case may be, but he's dependent on Neek to make sure that everything is good out here as far as people dying. And so I don't really know what that part was about, but I guess we'll find out later in the series. So then we see Lulu, him and Rock, they're going to that bodega that we talked about because he wants to discuss business with the woman who approached him about possibly working together. So they see Famous and D-Wiz coming out of the store, and they were kind of like, where y'all going? And he was like, oh, we about to go get some pizza and something else. And so Lulu pulls out $100 and was like, here, it's on me tonight. And tell your sister I said what's up or whatever. And so Famous, we know he's not too keen on his sister being with Lulu or being a part of that life. So he just said something about, oh, I haven't really seen her and da 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 da. So Lulu knows that Famous, he gets that vibe that Famous ain't really feeling the two of them talking. And so he's starting to get a little upset or a little worked up. And so Rock just kind of is like, calm down, Lou. And they end up, going into the store to handle the business. But I don't know if that's going to be a conflict at some point. But we do know that he is definitely not feeling his sister being, with Lou or Lulu in that way. So we'll see what happens with that. So they go into the bodega and we see the lady. I don't know her name. I don't know if we were supposed to know her name neither. But she's got like this big black eye when they go in and they see that somebody has like hit her. And then we see her husband. Her husband's kind of sleazy, chauvinistic. We see him. And so we can pretty much, bet that it was him that blacked her eye. So he's like, she's not discussing business. Any business that needs to be discussed is going to be discussed with me. So Rock's like, all right, that's cool, whatever. We're going to handle all of the upgrades. We're going to take care of security. We're going to add security cameras in here, make sure that everything is set up, to par so that we can use your place, for business. And so she's like, okay, how much are you going to charge us to do this? And he feels like, well, he's directing everything that he says to Lulu, which makes me believe, okay, he already doesn't respect women as it is. If he can beat on them, he probably damn sure don't respect them. So he's talking to Lulu and he's directing all of his comments and everything to him. And Lulu was just kind of like, I don't know why you talking to me. She's in charge. You don't need to be talking to me about nothing. So he turns his attention to Rock and they come to an agreement because he felt like he needed a percentage, I guess, of what they were selling. And she was like, nah, you ain't taking a risk. All we doing is using your place. We out here on the front line doing what it is. We are taking the risk. So you going to take, this amount and you going to be good with that. And so he was, I guess, trying to test them or trying to try them, but he ended up agreeing. And so I guess they going to use his spot for cleaning money or I know it's not a stash house. I don't know. I'm lying. I don't know. So y'all let me know the real reason below in the comments. So then we see old Jukebox again. And she is down to the some store, some boutique or something with her friend, the white girl from the private school. So they're shopping and Rock looks at a shirt or something and it was $65. And so she put it back like, nah, I'm good on that. And so the girl offers to pay for it. And that offended Jukebox. I might have said Rock, but I meant Jukebox if I did. And Jukebox was offended because the girl feels like she's just some little poor kid from Queens and she can't afford nothing and she's trying to be, Captain Save-A-Ho. But I think it's just kind of an ignorance on both ends because we know that Rock, I keep calling her Rock, that Jukebox can afford it because she's out there making, her money in her way. And we also know that the girl doesn't know a lot. I guess she may not know a whole lot about, black people or relationships or whatever, but she just was trying to help. And they end up kissing outside, making up or whatever. And So now we know that, oh, Jukebox is comfortable with kissing girls at this point. So we saw, I forgot to mention, Marv took Kanan because Kanan is just so anxious to get started. He ready to get in the game. He takes him to like this rundown house, and Kanan was like, "What are we doing here?" And he was like, "You know, this your office. Come on in." And so Kanan is like, "What the hell?" You know, it was just some dude there playing video games, and Marv was like, well, he's going to, tell you everything you need to know. And so have fun. And so he leaves him there. And Kanan is pissed because now he feels like, okay, they just got me sitting over here doing nothing when I can be out on the block making money. So Kanan, figured out that his mom put him in this stash house just to kind of keep him out of the streets, keep him out of the way. And she tells him, yeah, I did put you there for that reason. But what I also want you to know is that that's how I started. Your dad, I guess his daddy's name was Defcon, put me in a stash house when I was pregnant with you because he didn't want me out on the streets fighting with no junkie, and get hurt. So she figured, she learned a lot there, and it also taught her discipline, and it helped her baby daddy realize that she wasn't, just anxious, and she did have patience, and that she could handle whatever they put in front of her. And so all the while she's getting dressed, she's getting ready to go out, and Kanan's like, "Where are you going?" She was like, "I'm going out." And she tells him that it's okay for him to have a friend over for a sleepover. And she's like, "Why don't you call D-Wiz over? I just rented New Jack City and y'all can kind of watch that and chill out tonight." So he agreed. He thought that was a good idea. And so he tells D-Wiz to come by. And, she was like, "I'm sure he could appreciate a night out the projects, for the night or whatever." So Lulu sees D-Wiz getting ready to go over to the house, and he tells him to get in. There's been a change of plans. We going to a party downtown tonight. And he was like, "Well, I was supposed to meet Kanan over at his house, and we were going to watch New Jack City." So he was like, "Oh, Kanan going to be here at the party. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Y'all, you need to come on." So he gets in the car, and Jukebox sees him because she was getting off the bus, and she sees, Lulu picking D-Wiz up. And she just kind of had this look of concern on her face because I think she knows that something is about to go down. So they're at the club, and Lulu pays this prostitute to go and give D-Wiz the time of his life in the bathroom. And we see in another scene, Mom, she's at Symphony's house. Symphony, I guess, has cooked dinner for her, and they're out on the balcony, and he again is talking about like the history of high rises and how originally they were created for the poor. They wanted to keep them in that spot, and how eventually people with money started wanting to live in them. So it was just like the evolution of the high rises, and she's interested in hearing anything he has to say. We can tell she's really feeling Mr. Symphony, and he's feeling her too. So we start seeing like this chain of events going on. First, at the club, we see Marv, and Marv, I guess he's feeling the white girl at the club because they were at the door letting people in, and some white guy was like pushing up on her, trying to grab on her. So Marv sees this, and Marv like starts fighting him, and him and his friends start trying to jump Marv. And Lou and D-Wiz are coming out of the club, and they see it, and Lulu's like, "Marv can handle himself, let's go." So they leave, and D-Wiz was still wondering like, "Well, dog, why didn't Kanan show up? Kanan really missed it or whatever." So they go out, and we see them peeing in the alleyway somewhere. And then we see Symphony and Rock they getting it in. So now they doing it, and we see Marv going to jail. The white girl run up to him like, wow, nobody's ever defended me like that before. He was like, ain't nobody gonna be doing that to my girl. Kisses her. And so I guess they are a couple now. Then we see, you know, they still peeing in the alley, Lulu and D-Wiz. And D-Wiz, you know, looks up and Lulu got the gun to his head, pow, shoots him in the head. I guess D-Wiz was a liability that they couldn't afford to have around, so they had to get rid of him. And at this time, we also see Kanan at the house, and Kanan knows that something is not right. He calls D-Wiz's house, and the mom just says that, you know, he's not there. I guess, you know, he was supposed to be, he had left to come to his house, so he knew something wasn't right. And the whole time all of this is going on, we hear Jukebox, and she's singing Whitney Houston's You Give Good Love or Good Love, I don't know, but it's like loud. It's like this loud rendition. I had to turn the TV down. It was that loud. She was like, she has a good voice, but like she was like screaming over the scenes, and I was just like, nah, this is too much. So I had to cut it down. And we see that, you know, y'all excuse the dogs. She sees that, you know, now, you know, D-Wiz is dead. Lulu calls the mom and tells her that it's done. She lies to Symphony and says it was my son saying he was getting ready to go to sleep. And that was pretty much where the episode ended. If I left anything out, y'all know, put it in the comments below. I'm sure I did. I do like this show. I like all the Power books. Everything is good to me. It's some good writing going on. I'm pretty sure this will get more and more interesting as the season progresses. If you made it this far, thank you. And I will see those of you who watch tonight for Housewives of Potomac. And with that being said, I'm out of here. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.